Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my video, Virgo July 2020 Must Knows. This month we've got the third of 3 eclipses, and just to kind of put this in perspective, every one eclipse that we have has the tendency and the potential to bring a massive amount of transformation, changes, dramatic endings, major beginnings, and high emotion. And this year of 2020, we have 6 eclipses. We don't always have 6 eclipses. And 3 of those 6 are sandwiched between June and July. So just to kind of give you an idea of the type of energy that we're working with at this time. So July 4th and 5th, 4th or 5th, depending on your time zone, we've got the last eclipse in the Capricorn Cancer eclipse cycle that started in the middle of 2018. So we've got this grand wrap up. So many people are going to see very dramatic changes in their lives, and a lot of the details of what those changes might look like for you will likely already have been starting to come in. Now, there are some people that go through eclipse time and they don't really have that much change. But eclipse changes can also be subtle on the inside where they're working towards something, and sometimes it takes a little bit more time to make apparent what's going on in there. But the more you look, the more you'll see these dynamics that are happening. But in any case, July, we've got the winding down of Mercury retrograde energy. We've got the winding down of Venus retrograde energy. So this whole month is like a dog shaking off water after a bath. That's what it reminds me of, with the water, of course, representing emotion and the heaviness that can come from excess emotion. So June and July are definitely very emotional. But as we move through the month, it's like you're shaking off the emotion. Now, in general, these water energies that we have at this time, which is adding to the emotion, besides the eclipses and the retrogrades, which tend to bring things up, we've got this cluster of water energy. Okay, so this definitely brings high emotion. But remember, the emotion doesn't have to be bad. It can be, happy, wonderful, heartwarming things. It can be bittersweet things. It can, just be milestones that, are emotional because things are changing. But in any case, all of this energy works in a beautiful angle for Virgo. Now, remember, with astrological signs and everything on this planet of duality, the Earth is a planet of duality. Everything is working with these opposites. Opposing forces come with an effort to balance out things that are too stodgy in one direction and add to for the purpose of transcendence. Okay, so whenever we have energies in signs that are different, and even though obviously Cancer is not opposite this, but water energies are opposite earth signs in general, okay? So what you have a chance to do at this time with all this water energy is to loosen up any of those stuck, earthy, stubborn, difficult to move, stodgy, trapped places in your being. It can be, with how energy moves through you, through your personality, through your habits, through your lifestyle, anything. And you can add more intuition. Virgo is very logical, it thinks everything through, it analyzes everything. So at this time, when you have all of this water, it's like water moving into, I imagine it like parched earth, it like fills those crevices and it just sort of changes the nature of how you do everything. So the more you embrace it, the more this can be wonderful for you. And since it is a nice angle, it should be easier to do that. Okay, so the energy is very good for trusting and letting go, asking for synchronicity to appear to you, to confirm things that you might be logically thinking, or dream time, or just anything where it's coming from a lesser seen realm than the intellect. When we look at this grouping of emotion, of high emotion for better and worse, you can see it's focused in this section of the 11th house. Now, just a quick note here. We're going to break some things down. Okay, so early degree Virgos are basically August born, or 0 to 9 degrees. I put the degree designations here too to help you in case you're watching for your moon, because my reports are also for your moon in Virgo or your rising Virgo. All right, so early Virgos are basically August born or 0 to 9 degrees, middle September 1st through 10th or 10 to 19 degrees, and late around September 11th through the rest of the sign or 20 to 29 degrees. So when we look at this chart that we're looking at here as an early chart, when you look at the middle chart, see how this cluster is still in the 10th house, okay? And when you look at the late degree chart, you see the same thing. So what that means is that when we start out the month, this high emotion is in this section for the early degree placements, but it takes weeks for those, September born friends to really start feeling this. And while those early borns are feeling all that, you all in the middle and late are still feeling the high emotion here. Okay, so we'll differentiate what that looks like now that you can see what the storyline is. So when there's energy in the 11th house, that's really, really good for networking. Getting out, meeting people, if you're allowed to get out, depending on what quarantine situations are, or online, virtual connections with people, emails, talking to people on the phone. When there's energy supporting the 11th house, it's like the universe wants you to connect with people. So this house rules social media. It rules groups and teams, whether they're in person, like your softball league or your chess club or your online chat group. It pushes you into focus on and find your footing and do some work in the area of your friendships and your place within a group. And that can also extend out further, like your place in the community, your place, your tribe, the people that speak your language, not literally like your language of your speaking, literally. I mean like spiritually speaking your language, or doing things in life that you understand. So it's really, really, really helpful if you can put your feelers out and ask the questions and do the work in those realms, because that's where the opportunities are. And a lot of times people might have something that you need, and when you honor the flow here, then you can find the things that you're looking for through that venue. This is also online, like websites, like getting your work out. Now, it just happens to be that, okay, now if you've been watching my work for a while, you know that retrogrades are dominating this whole year, and we're not going to be free of personal planet retrogrades, which move the energies backwards and inwards, basically. They're not as much pushing forwards. And you can see how that's been manifesting through quarantine. Now, that's an unusual way for a retrograde year to manifest, but it is an example of the kind of things that happen. A lot of things have been stalled out, going backwards, and this is kind of indicative, very strong, amplified version of retrograde energies. But between around July 22nd, the energy starts to clear around the 20th, but we'll put July 22nd through July 28th. There's this ending of the Venus shadow period retrograde, the Mercury shadow, and then we're just barely starting here at the end of the month, the Mars retrograde pre-shadow period. Okay, Mars goes retrograde in September, and every day from the end of July that we move towards September, we're moving into that web of retrograde. But this magical time right here at the end is the freest from retrograde energy that then you're going to get for the whole rest of the year until the end of the year, like the end of November, December. And even then, it's still present. So if you have to go into legal agreements, do something with all of the things that could have come up from the retrogrades and the eclipses, all the opportunities that could be coming up from these water signs, making that ingredients on a counter angle to your Virgo placements. Ingredients on a counter means it gives you something, but you got to do something with it. Okay, so a lot of things are going to be coming up for you to work with, but you might not have clarity about them or direction or certainty until you're getting towards the end of the month. And with perfect timing, this is a really great time to actualize things. So if you have to do your launches, sign your papers, make your decisions, move, buy a house, sell a house, plan doing something, this is a really nice open window. Now, of course, it's not foolproof. Your chart has things that we can't see going on, and we don't know what's going to happen in the world. But from the astrological perspective of the things that we're looking at here, this is going to be quite a magic moment. So as Mars is moving into Aries, and it's going to be in Aries until the beginning of 2021 because that's going to retrograde in Aries, it's bringing this like bull in a china shop energy, which is again perfect because you couldn't really do much with some of the things we were working with. But now you can really start to take some action, and it is highly recommended. Okay, so now for the middle and late degree placements, we talked about, let's use the late degree chart, but remember the middle is kind of similar here. So the energies are, or the high emotion, this emotion bubble, is in the 10th house of work and career. So what this is really good for is addressing issues in the workplace, asking the question and taking some action on what do you want to do with your life? You know, maybe going into a completely different profession. The things that have happened in the world recently have really called into question a lot of people's professions and their jobs and the way that they do their work, and people getting to spend more time at home with their families has been creating this really powerful seed of change. And so this is a really great time, if you've been kind of dancing with certain things, to really dive into the question and find the answers and take action on, especially towards the end of the month into that window, what you want to do with your work, what you want your career path to look like. And of course, this also ties into family, okay? Because while this is in the 10th house, it's in the sign of Cancer, which rules the 4th house, and that's the home and family. So the topics of home and family versus work and career are going to be very strong. And that's really true for everybody in the zodiac because the eclipse cycle is the Cancer Capricorn cycle. So this is like an overlying theme, and then you add to it these additional energies of Cancer placements for everyone in the zodiac, and then you add to it for most of the Virgos, it's in the 10th house of work. Okay, so this is like really, really, really hot for you all. Okay, so that's good. So basically, if you have to put in applications or take tests to, you know, move forward with work that you want to do, ask for a raise, all of that is good to look into, and then like around the 22nd through the 28th, or follow your intuitive flow if it it can supersede that. It's a really good time to do things like that. Put in job applications, go back to old contacts, find new contacts for work, employment, and also things having to do with fathers and father figures. So it's a really good time to help your dad or make peace with your dad or ask your dad for help or something like that. And moms could factor in here too because of all that Cancer energy. Okay, so the Mars energies, let's see. You can see Mars here. This is the early chart. And then here's Mars drop back into the 7th in the middle and drop further back into the 7th for the late degree. What's the same about that for all Virgos, though, is that the energy of Mars is rumping and bumping in your relationship sectors. So when that happens, it's basically bringing your focus to your relationships in a really big way. I always call Mars the border collie of the zodiac because they're like, you know, I'm sure I've talked about my border collies before, and one of them will bring me a pine needle and stare and stare and stare, and will stare at the back of my head with the pine needle behind me and just kind of be really hot on that pine needle. So where Mars goes in the chart, it's like you're really hot on that. You get like really crazy about that. And for instance, like in my natal chart, I have Mars in my 8th house, which is an astrology house. So I'm like a border collie on astrology all the time, you know, and asking those type of questions and really focusing there as my life experience because it's in my natal chart. But when we're looking at the transit chart, it's like a cyclical focus, like, okay, now we're really focused on here. Okay, now it's moving on. Now we're really focused on here, you know? And it can bring the energy of aggression. It can bring the energy of impatience and, you know, war. You know, Mars is the god of war. But it can also bring the energy of collaboration, of finding solutions, of working on a project and reaching, you know, having good success with that. So just watch how this comes into play as you're focusing on the relationships in your life. And so for those of you who are the August born, this is starting to really light up your 8th house. And this has to do with a deeper level of partnership, like shared resources. It's called other people's money, this house. So, you know, you and the government, you taxes, debt, credit cards, you borrowing money, you lending money, spousal money, inheritances, lotto, winnings, you know, things like that, venture capital, stocks, investing, all of that. Angel gifting, you know, angel investing, all of those things are there. So you'll see like how this moves there, where you might become super hot on, okay, I'm going to fix my credit, or I'm going to pay off this debt, or I'm going to get this loan. And it's like, it's moving there. So, and for the middle and late degree placements, it's still very much focused on the relationships themselves, you know, working with people, building relationships, evaluating relationships, in some cases ending relationships, starting new relationships, all of that coming into play. Okay, so let's take a look at this last eclipse. So I showed you exactly where all Virgo placements were going to experience the early June eclipse in the May report, and then we did the end of June eclipse in the June report, and now we're doing the July eclipse. So 13 degrees of Capricorn, lunar eclipse, last in the cycle, big endings, big beginnings, major wrapping up of whatever's been going on for the last 2 years in home and work and family and ancestry and your inner world and your outer world and your place in the home and your place in the outer world. You know, that's all coming up in a big way. And then the other thing to note is that this is at a beautiful angle for Virgo. So usually when that happens, it's more friendly or very friendly. You know, we can't see what's going on in your chart as far as how it would hit other placements, but just from the point of looking at your Virgo placement, the middle degree, well, I guess late, early. Okay, so it's basically like 8 through 18 degrees. So it's like the end of the early degree placements up until the end of the middle degree placements, and the closer you are to 13 degrees or like the 3rd-ish of September, then the more, you know, direct hit you'll have. And that usually would be a very positive thing because of the angle. All right, so let's see where this is going to happen. So for early degree placements, that's going to be in the 5th house. We'll talk about what that means. Middle degree, as usual, you tend to be on the line, 4th or 5th house or both. And late degree placements, that's going to be in the 5th or the 4th house. Okay, so let's talk about what that means. And then I also created some very in-depth resources for you to work with this energy. Let's get our little grid. Early and middle, 5th, middle and late, 4th. So eclipses tend to bring non-negotiable endings and beginnings that you almost just can't say no to. Okay, so a lot of times there's the element of things being out of your control. And they tend to come up in a really big way. They tend to be really emotional, and they tend to change a trajectory. Eclipses are energies that are related to the nodal path. Okay, the nodal path in your life is your highest expression in this lifetime. So eclipses tend to really activate your destiny in a very, very big way. So there's a lot of things that feel fated, that feel unavoidable around this time. And they will be in the areas of home and family and work and all that stuff that we talked about. But specifically for Virgos, we've got it here. Okay, so for middle and late degree friends, this adds another intense degree of focus to your home and family, because not only is this eclipse cycle working that section for everybody, it's falling into the 4th house, which like really brings it home, literally home. So buying homes, selling homes, refurbishing them, redoing them, anything having to do with homes, housing, real estate, rentals, working from home, starting a home business, developing a home business, businesses about homes. You might see any of these things coming up. Somebody moving out, somebody moving in, milestones with family, ancestry, finding a lost relative, discovering something about your genes or your genealogy that's really relevant to you. All of that tends to come up. If you'd like to see more about this, look for my video called Eclipses in Cancer or 4th House. And you can find this either by searching for Annie Botticelli eclipses in Cancer, or you can go to my homepage on YouTube and scroll all the way down to the bottom. And the whole eclipse series is there, okay? So middle and late degree friends, that's for you. All Virgos, you can look for my video, Eclipses in Capricorn, okay? Because that's the eclipse for everybody, and you'll find out more about that. And in those videos, I include like all of the things that I've seen, the ways I've seen these things manifest over all these years. So they're very detailed. All right, so now the early and middle degree placements, you've got this energy in the 5th house. And the 5th house with eclipses tend to see pregnancies, kids having notable things going on, milestones with children, children graduating, children moving out, children, doing something notable. Things going on with romance, and it's the house of true love. So like someone who you thought was your true love, something notable happening with them. Or, I remember one time, it was just pretty strange, and this is just an example. There's so many different ways this can manifest, but there was an eclipse in something similar like this for me. And I found out that my first love, my first boyfriend that I had for many years as a teenager, had died. And so like it brought all this emotion to me. And so it was like, it was an ending, but I hadn't talked to him in a really long time, but it still like affected me, and it still affects me. I still think about it, and I still think about him. So it's like things like that. Like it could be something that you're not thinking of related to that type of energy, some kind of ending or something that affects you in some way that's dramatic. But it can also be in a wonderful way. Many a person with eclipse energies in their 5th house has had their true love show up, and the person that they're looking for, or a POC as I call them, a person of consequence. So that could definitely happen. This is also a house of creativity, and that's creative babies, like literally like you create a human baby, or like a creative baby, your artwork, your singing, your acting project, anything that puts you out in front of other people or displays your art or your gifts, athleticism, music, all of that. So something notable there can happen with this. And this is also the house of hobbies. I call it the bucket list house. It's just like fun for the sake of it. Now, fun to the point where it's not good for you can also show up in here. So addictions and notable things involving addictions, like them either flaring or them healing, ending an addiction can come in this space. But definitely look for my video Eclipses in Leo or 5th house, Annie Botticelli in that, and you'll get the full additional description of what I've seen happen there. So in general, it's a very busy month. It always seems to be, but we've got this bubbling up of energy, which is very exciting. You're going to have the momentum because of Mars there. You're going to have a lot of sweet aspects, and there's going to be a lot of stirring into action, and then there's going to be energy to use that action. And so I think it's, can be very productive and very positive, and I'm very excited about it in general. If you'd like to have more information, like for instance, the list of all of the aspects this month and what they are and what you can expect from them, you can get that by signing up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com. You also get my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine for free when you sign up for that newsletter. And you also get all of this information delivered into your inbox 1 month early, the same way I do the videos. If you'd like to have written horoscopes by me that are just super simple, not technical at all, then you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. You'll also be able to see all these links in the notes underneath the video. If you click on that arrow that says more, it will reveal all the notes, and all the links are there. At cozybysweetstarlight.com, I write the horoscopes 1 month early and all kinds of astrology kissed blogs, herbal tea for each sign, yoga for each sign. It's a beautiful site, and there's a lot to do there. So if you would like to learn astrology, or you'd like to take some of my free courses, you can check out my paid and free courses at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. It's my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, and you can see my course, Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery course. I can take you wherever you want to go with astrology there. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.